have this ability to just kind of step over a moment and elaborate on it and think about all the different textures of one moment, and they can, you know, bring you into that moment and make it really articulately clear before just smashing it to pieces, which is, you know, pretty rock and roll, but they're not rock and roll at all. So High Pulp is a conundrum, honey.
We're a bunch of fuckheads. Whiskey with some seltzer water.
I put on dirty clothes, I think. They're just all on my floor.
I was talking about light fix, I just realized this whole time. Damn, let's go back. Shit. Yeah. Yeah. Woo, yeah.
Ooh. Oh my God. Hold on. I can do this. Yeah. It's okay though.
I've sworn to make jazz, rock, fusion, rap, rock, pop, blues.
What's salad fingers?
Take the looseness of, you know, the whole George Clinton, you know, Parliament Funkadelic, James Brown, all that, and you mix it with the free jazz elements of, you know, the 50s, 60s, you know, Alice Coltrane, Sun Ra, Yusef Lateef. You take all that, mash it together, and then you add a little sprinkling of you know, modern tastes. And you get a kind of soup that kind of sticks together in a very savory way.
There's so much that happens that is just like greater than the sum of its parts.
I believe when you listen to their music in the midnight, when you feel lonely, you can get the echo from your soul.
If I were to describe the music of High Pulp, it's a family, man. It's a family music, and it's a big, dynamic family full of characters, and each one of those characters and their sounds is equally represented in the music that's played.
Taking one thing and just following it down the rabbit hole that leads to the next thing, whether that's a tangible thing like writing a tune, or it's a more abstract thing like coming up with an idea for something like Mutual Attraction.
I think it was very much just kind of like Bobby came home one day. I live with Bobby, so I get a lot of the kind of like first ideas that come from him too. Just, you know, while making dinner. But he came home one day being like, I think it'd be cool if we did 3 series of 3 covers and try to have like the series be thematically relevant.
We could explore some of our influences that sort of fit into our Venn diagram, you know, like we have people that like this kind of stuff, and we have people that like this kind of stuff, and then there's this overlap, and that overlap is the mutual part.
Somehow to both respect what's originally there and then like take it in an artistically worthy direction.
It's kind of more of an inner feeling type of difference, and that's where the depth is. So if you can put your own spin on how deep it goes, you can really put your own interpretation on it, and I feel like that's exactly what we did.
Can we figure out a way to do this song that, you know, we would be excited to show to the composer of the original tune?
It's also just about like kind of the whole mutual attraction of all these different orbits kind of gravitationally pulling together between people and musicians who are here in Seattle.
We tracked it all ourselves at a variety of different locations around the Seattle area.
Every song is a single continuous live take from the band. which is quite a challenge. It kind of makes it a little more like performing a show, because you're playing and you know that, you know, there's a pretty good chance that maybe a lot of people will be watching at some point. They're not right now, but in a way they kind of are right now.
The kind of like out, you know, slightly avant-garde jazz that we liked, with maybe those slightly space connections at times from the 60s and 70s. So there's like an Alice Coltrane tune, there's a Sun Ra tune, and a Pharoah Sanders tune. All artists, I think, that everybody in the band like thinks are pretty cool.
It's just that, like, you know, 60s, early 70s, like, free jazz, where it's not like free where it's just like really busy and like, oh, what's happening, but it's just like free in the sense of writing. It's free in the sense of spirituality and the ethos of it all.
We did the first Mutual Attraction in a warehouse, oh yeah, the big building, the warehouse, yeah, down in Soto.
You know, it's just like, it's a rehearsal place for musicians, a creative art space and studio for artists of different mediums.
We used to book shows out of that warehouse for some years, and we used to do a festival, just all DIY, sort of, yeah, all types of genres, all types of everything, and it was just a really cool space with wonderful energy, beautiful art in a cool part of town. And so that was really cool to be able to do Mutual Attraction Volume 1 there.
Once we did the first one, we said immediately after press stopped recording, said double it. So we made a second.
Arthur Verocai from Brazil, Presente Grego, Cassiopeia from Japan, Swallow, and Cortex from France, Tropa Blue.
We had probably like 14 people. We had a lot of guest musicians, probably like 14 people crammed into this little room, and camera people moving all around to capture different angles, and it was hot.
It was hot, 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 hot.
The unsung hero of Mutual Attraction is without a doubt Drew Pine. This thing wouldn't be possible without a sound engineer that's basically just a full-fledged member of the band. He comes to rehearsals, like he comes to all the gigs, runs our live sound. He recorded and mixed all of Mutual Attraction 1 and 2. Having Drew is such an X factor. And then Kevin Blanke's running the lights, making our living room or that warehouse look like it's a $1 million venue. It just goes to show that this whole thing goes so beyond the people you see on screen, you know?
Every Mutual Attraction filming we do, there's an artist that live paints, and they live paint something that's going to be on the cover of the record.
We had the idea that we wanted to feature local artists that we know that are kind of friends of ours, and that we wanted to highlight their work, and we wanted to use their work as the album art. And so we identified those folks and asked them if they wanted to do that as a live painting as we recorded the tracks. And so they agreed, and that's how we decided to do that.
I feel a lot with their music. I got a lot of inspirations, so I just follow my hand to do my art, not even think of too much. I feel at that moment, their music and my art just naturally happened, and they fit perfectly.
What we want is for the artist to be exploring this, like, you know, sort of improvisational space with us as well, where you're soaking in the aesthetic of the room and the sounds of the music and all of those things at the same time to create this piece of art that is not just uniquely yours, but is uniquely yours in a space that has been curated for this unique purpose.
Use other mediums of art as inspiration. I think the word for that is ekphrasis, is a fun fact. That's a work of art about another work of art. And yeah, not even to say that the painters on our live videos were doing art about what we were doing, but I can say for myself that I was like watching them do their live paintings as we went through the takes, and that really, it certainly informed the way I was playing and approaching the music in that moment. So that's a pretty interesting thing. It's kind of like a whole other level of artistic content you get to play around with.
The funny thing about this whole project is that we had originally just thought we were going to do Mutual Attraction just for YouTube, you know, not even upload it to Bandcamp or Spotify or any of that. And you fast forward 6 months and now all of it's coming out on vinyl.
I mean, the KingUnderground shit's been wild. I got an email one day from Dan that said, hey, you know, I'd be like interested in like working on something together or something along those lines. And at first I think maybe we hadn't even like noticed or done much about it, and then we'd put out something, we had released something, I forget what it was, and he reached out again being like, yo, you know, like seriously, I think it would be cool to do this.
Now he hit us up again and was just like, hey, you know, just listening to more stuff, I really dig it. And, you know, it was just really genuine. Finally I got back to him and we had a call and whatever, and sort of just figured out that it might be a good fit. He was just like, what do you guys have? And conveniently, I was like, well, we have 6 songs recorded that are this Mutual Attraction, Volume 1 and Volume 2, and we're gonna work on Volume 3 to finish out the trilogy. And, you know, there's that. And he was just like, oh shit.
High Pulp is really good at taking that element of just like the raw musical feeling of it and twisting it in a way that causes people to be like, whoa, what is that? In a really different way, causing them to think about it in a different way, feel it in a different way.
Things that High Pulp does is in creating a path, a forward path, forward momentum musically for new generations of artists, musicians, is that they are collaborating constantly. They are constantly listening, they are constantly creating, and that listening and that creativity is essential.
Like this feeling of this greater community of musicians that really just wants to kind of make it so that Seattle really like leaves its mark, really makes this new, you know, 2019, 2020 and beyond name for itself as like a really interesting happening place musically. And it is, and it's only a matter of time before the rest of the world starts to catch on, and I'm excited for those layers to get peeled away.
The first time I saw High Pulp, they were leading a jam at a bar, a little venue in Columbia City that is usually only filled with rich white people that are having like $16 glasses of wine with their overpriced meal, listening to jazz. And I walked in and it was packed with young folks there for a scene, there to get it poppin'. And everybody was listening to every sound coming out of that stage. Everybody was hoping to get a chance to have a conversation too on that stage. And I think that when people think about experimental music that can cross over into genres of pop and R&B that are happening in music now, that they think about High Pulp in Seattle.